This time, when I was reborn, I stayed away from every intersection with my wife. She pushed me to graduate and become a house husband, but I secretly signed up for graduate school. She chose to help out the family to support her first love, but I covertly moved the money to another account. She stated she was ready to hold the wedding and marry me, but I chose to flee away. In my past existence, my child was switched with her first love's child. I brought her first love's child to success, but my child died young. In old age, they pushed me down a mountain to reconcile with each other. When I opened my eyes again, I had returned to the year of my graduation. Chapter 1. Happy Graduation. All of a sudden, my hands were full of pots, pans, and dishes. I was confused, and everything fell to the ground. The woman in front of me quickly changed her face to a frown. "What are you doing, Justin? I worked so hard to get these cooking items ready for you two. They're wonderful for you to use." Robin's mother continued scolding me and pointing her finger at me, but I was still lost in the immense happiness of being born again. Today was the last day to sign up for graduate school. Did you hear me? How can you take care of my daughter if you act like this? When I heard the name Robin, a lovely figure came to me. In my prior life, I always assumed it was my luck to have sought and won her. She was lovely, her grades ranked among the top in school, and because she liked dancing, even casual practice could bring her into the regional team. She adored writing music, and even a casual melody she wrote may become popular with the audience. Now she wanted to be a doctor and was quickly recognized by a senior professor in the medical profession who took her as his final disciple. Everyone envied that I had a marriage contract with her, that she genuinely liked me. Only I knew that she was a selfish and terrible person. Thinking of what she had done in the past life, I clenched my hands, forced down my disdain, and smiled as I answered, "Please go back first. I have something to do, so I'll leave now." Without caring about her calling me back, I immediately sprinted toward the internet cafe at the school gate. When my housemates saw me swiftly accessing the graduate school registration system, they were astonished and inquired if I wasn't planning to be a house husband. I grinned and said, "This is the glorious era of reform and opening up. How can I lock myself in a little household? Contributing to the country through graduate studies is what I should do." Perhaps they didn't anticipate me to shift so fast, but my roommate's eyes lit up at once, full of respect. After I finished filling out the paperwork, I let out a breath of relief and returned to the school. Chapter 2. In my prior existence, I listened to Robin's advice. After graduation, I seized the substantial inheritance my parents gave me and became a house husband. With my care, she had no anxieties at home. After graduation, she instantly started her internship at the hospital, and later under the leadership of that senior professor. She advanced significantly in her profession. She was transferred to a hospital in the city, and her first love, Domingo, also followed her to the city. Only I was left behind in the village. The next time we met was when she was giving birth. I sat in the same hospital room as her first love. Domingo sat at the side, relaxing as I rushed around, busily taking care of her. Even if Domingo merely wanted a sip of water, she, though weak, would force herself up to pour it for him. But if I so much as sat down for a moment, she would condemn me for not knowing how to take care of a wife. My heart was devastated, but I told myself that after the kid was born, I would commit everything to nurturing the child. I watched my child develop from a babbling, cheerful infant to someone who, as he grew up, became increasingly impatient with me, unable to even come home for the new year. I believe he was just too busy. Until the new year of my 65th year, I finally learned the truth. She, our son, and Domingo had been living together all along. My son even called another man dad. I addressed them straight, but my son jumped up in an instant, shutting them firmly behind him, then shoved me hard. "Dad, wouldn't it be better for you to simply stay in the village and live old peacefully? Why do you have to ruin our reunion at the new year? I don't want anyone to know I have a father who knows nothing and looks like some village bumpkin." Behind him, Robin didn't even peek at me. She was busy soothing Domingo, who had been scared into tears. She looked at me coldly and said, "Divorce." I refused to divorce. Why should I had devoted my entire life's energy into the Kim family? It was me that cared for my in-laws when they were unwell while she was out enjoying herself. It was me who raised our son alone without any support, nurtured him into success. And only when he became 18 did mother and son ever have a discussion. And yet now, he stated I knew nothing, that I was just some dumb peasant. I demanded justice so loudly that even the neighbors were pulled over by my shouts. At last they grew frustrated and compromised. Later the four of us went climbing together. The three of them wanted to shove me off the cliff together. I grabbed hard to my son's leg, pleading him to save me, for the sake of our many years of father-son love. But he merely looked at me with hatred and finally shouted the truth. You were never my true dad. The daughter my mom gave birth to, your daughter died at birth. At that time, I was already a year old, but unwell, and my father didn't have time to take care of me. That's why I became your child instead. If I had a choice, I wouldn't have wanted you to raise me at all at that moment. All my power went away. So in this life, everything I had done was merely sewing wedding outfits for others. I suddenly hated it. Why did I ever give up my work to be a house husband in the end? My son, without the slightest hesitation, kicked me down the cliff. When I opened my eyes again, I had returned to the year of my graduation. Chapter 3. As soon as I returned to school, I observed Robin's mother unhappy and swearing under her breath. Robin did not refute her, merely kept silent. Domingo was also alongside her. He softly patted Mrs. Kim's back to calm her, then lifted his eyes and spotted me. Look, brother-in-law is back. He must not have meant to upset you. As he talked, he stretched out to hold my hand, his voice soothing. Come on, apologize to Aunt Kim. I moved my body to avoid his hand. Robin seemed puzzled. What's wrong with you? Mrs. Kim's expression darkened further. Don't waste words with him. With that, she withdrew 2 red envelopes from her pocket, smiling. One for Robin, one for Domingo. The three of them clasped hands as if they were a family, completely treating me as the outsider. Domingo lifted his head to peek at me, seemingly terrified. But brother-in-law didn't get one. Mrs. Kim sneered coldly, while Robin, hearing this, pulled out a wad of cash from her pocket. She doesn't need this money. You're different. It's not easy living alone. You take this. At first, I merely intended to stand by and watch, but suddenly I lunged forward to take it. Robin, you're handing my money to your first love right in front of me. Did you even ask me? Robin's face turned icy, and she yanked it away before I could grab it. You have so much money. I simply took a little. He lost his parents. Living alone isn't easy. How can you be so heartless? Not to help, her remarks made me giggle in rage. So he was an orphan. And I wasn't. Did the Kim family believe simply because they were poor, they could use my money to subsidize someone else? Domingo's eyes welled with tears from being surprised by me. Please, sister, brother-in-law, don't fight because of me. If she doesn't want to give me the money, then I won't take it. With that, he sighed and quickly left. Robin instantly chased after him. In front of me, the two of them yanked and tugged for long, until finally Domingo accepted the money. I was anxious and wanted to follow, but Mrs. Kim grasped my arm strongly to stop me. Our family does not tolerate narrow-minded persons like you. I couldn't break free, and in the end, it was Robin who ripped us apart. She looked at me with nothing but coldness in her eyes. Justin, I'm disappointed in you. Then she shook her head as if compromising. If you don't want me to give it to him, then I won't anymore. Chapter 4. I knew they would never gladly give up having me as their walking money bag. After they left, I immediately headed to the bank. Robin knew the password to my card. When I checked the balance, I noticed that big quantities of money have already been removed without explanation. Clearly, this wasn't the first time Robin had done this. I quickly changed the password. Then I went back to school to find my teacher. She was the one who had noticed my talent, and all the honors I'd earned at school had come from her supervision. When my teacher heard that I planned to take the graduate exam, her eyes brightened up. Then she asked whether I would be willing to follow her to South City University of Technology to study mechanical research with her professor. Coincidentally, they would depart next month. She was even willing to teach me for free. My eyes gleamed. Wasn't this just the dream school I had always wished for? I agreed again and again. During a break before leaving home, I started exploring train tickets for next month. The pricing wasn't high for me. I folded my hands over my chest. Soon, I would finally be free. Chapter 5. When I came home, it was already late. The apartment wasn't enormous, but everything inside and out was decorated according to Robin's preferences. Now that we were about to separate, I couldn't help but feel some heartache, mainly for the money. Thinking that, I instantly grabbed out a bag and began packing up the treasures to sell them at the stores outside. While packing, I came to discover the scarf I had embroidered for Robin. I had always liked working with big objects, but I wasn't excellent at the kind of work that required patience. My fingertips had been pricked over and over again. She had seen it once and immediately remarked it was ugly, ignoring my hands full of scars. So dramatic. If you don't pay attention, how is it my fault my heart was broken? I felt I really wasn't good at embroidery. But now, looking closely, it actually looked fairly great. I sighed and put it aside, expecting to use it in winter. After selling stuff and going back home, the apartment appeared much emptier. I figured that when the time came to leave, I would clear this apartment out totally, not leaving Robin a single thing. She came home pretty late. When I saw her, her cheeks were flushed. It looked like she had been drinking. I stayed out a bit late, having dinner with them. She explained. Fortunately, I had the wisdom not to cook for her, but she carried a strong perfume scent, even more intense than what I had experienced earlier in the day. They must have been sitting quite close. She seemed to notice and promptly took off her coat. He fell, and I assisted him all the way back. Don't overthink it. I gave a simple For once, I didn't make a fuss. After all, I had seen this method many times. Domingo would always emerge whenever Robin and I were alone injured. Robin would only remark that as a doctor, she couldn't merely ignore someone in need. And the ending was always the same. I would watch her walk away, arm in arm with Domingo, bawling, my voice hoarse, without earning even a single glance back. Anyone with sight could see there was something wrong between them. Only I was the fool. It took me a lifetime to understand it clearly. I didn't react, only returned to my room and got out the book my teacher had given me to study. Just as I was ready to sit down, I heard the door open. Robin didn't knock, she simply stepped straight in. I hurriedly rose up and nervously tossed the materials away. I didn't want her to know about my graduate exam plans. She seemed not to notice anything weird and instead stated to me, "My mother has picked an auspicious day for the wedding. It'll be the first day of next month." She wasn't asking, she was informing me. The first day of next month, that was exactly the day I would be going with my teacher. Perfect. I also wanted to witness her response when I raced away from the wedding in front of her. Chapter 6. I gave a careless as if agreeing. She took it as normal and proceeded, "My mom sent the pots and pans for you." As she spoke, she went closer and gently grasped my hand. "I know you're not very good at cooking, but that's fine. In the future, we can cook together, okay?" There was a sweetness in her eyes that I rarely saw. In my previous existence, she had promised me this manner too. But after we married, it was absolutely different. She was often too busy to come home for dinner. Her parents, Mr. and Mrs. Kim, would reprimand me for my lousy cooking, stating it was shameful. When she found out, she just murmured softly, "Since you're at home with nothing to do, just practice more. Don't disturb the elders." Later, I found that she often cooked and conducted housework outside. Domingo was well taken care of by her. Even in old age, his fingertips were still smooth and fair. I fought down my contempt, dropped my head, and appeared to be shy. After a few remarks, she finally went. I slumped onto the chair, giving out a big sigh of relaxation. Everyone assumed that as an orphan with no one to rely on, I had struck gold by marrying Robin. That was why in my prior life's wedding, everyone approached Robin. Even when they spoke to me, it was to tell me to be smart. Yet my grades at school had been no worse than hers. My family had been wealthy, and that wealth ended up sustaining the Kim family for their entire lives. In my prior life. But in the end, the only honor anyone gave me was being known as the man who married Robin Kim. This time, I don't want such a moniker. I want to live for myself. Chapter 7. By the day prior, I had already sold everything in the apartment that could be sold. Robin rarely came home and typically didn't care about the flat, so she hadn't noticed anything amiss. She left all the wedding planning to her mother except for this day, when she requested me to meet her at the bridal shop. When I arrived, I noticed Robin sitting outside waiting. Just as I walked up, the curtain in front of me opened. It was Domingo. He was wearing a slim-fit white suit, beaming warmly. "Look, doesn't this suit look?" His voice cut off abruptly. Robin looked up, noticed me, and promptly explained. "Domingo was just generously trying on the suit for you. Don't take it the wrong way. You study engineering. Of course, you don't have the same sense of aesthetics as someone who studied design like him." But Domingo had on full makeup and had properly styled his hair. He certainly wasn't just trying it on for me. Seeing me mute, Domingo put on a look as if he were about to cry. Robin calmly grabbed a suit and handed it to me. It was a gray suit, the style I loathed most. I refused, but she violently pushed me into the fitting room. "Be good." Domingo wore this, and it looked wonderful. But I was stronger than him, and the outfit didn't fit at all. Even the sales clerk urged changing to another one. I had no choice but to change out. Yet when I was pulling off my jeans, they hooked on my underwear, and the underwear slid down too. Unexpectedly, Robin suddenly came in. Startled, I covered myself immediately. Even though we had been husband and wife in my previous life, in this one we were still naive. But she seemed indifferent. "What's there to be shy about? You'll have to show me sooner or later. Let me see why it doesn't fit." She strode up to me, first putting my pants back on, them pulling hard at the suit jacket to force it closed. I took a deep breath, but it squeezed me so hard I couldn't breathe, practically weeping from the pain. I can't breathe. A strong pain suddenly burst from my back. I felt a cold. The clerk entered and yelled out in shock, "There's blood. Are you crazy? If it doesn't fit, why compel him to wear it?" I had wounded my back earlier when shifting furniture, and now the wound was torn open again. The discomfort nearly made me sob. Domingo, attracted over by the ruckus, appeared to want to help, but he didn't close the curtain. Yet I was in too much misery to think about dignity. In front of them all, with the clerk's help, I shakily slipped it off and put my own clothing back on. Robin seemed to suddenly have some conscience, forcibly supporting me to get a taxi and take me to the hospital for bandaging. My tears wouldn't stop, yet within I felt calm. Even the doctor was startled at my condition, carefully treating my wound and sharply lecturing Robin. What kind of girlfriend was she? She kept her head bent, mute, as if guilty. In the end, Robin held my hand and muttered softly, "I'm sorry. I just felt it looked wonderful. That's why I demanded you wear it. Tomorrow I'll definitely get you a bigger one, okay?" But even now she only compromised a little. She still wanted me to wear the suit I detested. Quietly, I brushed away my tears and murmured gently, "All right." Robin promptly lifted her head, beaming warmly. "Great, I knew you wouldn't make a fuss about it." Of course it was great. After all, I didn't care about this wedding at all. Tomorrow, the dirtier the better. Chapter 8. But whatever shame Robin felt dissipated the instant we came home and saw Domingo. He was squatting at the threshold of my flat crying. "I got booted out by my landlord. The money you gave me I couldn't pay up." But Robin's first reaction was to look at me. "You changed the bank password." My heart turned cold and some suspicion slowly surfaced in my mind. "What do you mean by that?" Robin pulled off the hand she had been using to support me and questioned me. "Why didn't you tell me you changed the password?" Domingo was waiting for the money to rent a place. "What does his rent have to do with me? That money was left to me by my parents." I was furious. So Robin genuinely had been providing my money to Domingo to rent a property. No wonder in my last existence, no matter how carefully I saved by old age, I couldn't withdraw any substantial sum. It appeared it had been taken this way back then, to one bank card sucked dry by her whole family. Domingo rested on the wall, slowly standing up, his red, swollen eyes turning toward me. "What are you saying? Your money is Robin's money too, isn't it? She only helped me out because she felt sorry for me. It was always in your name that she provided it." I sneered. "What use was its so-called name?" I stepped up to him and stood firmly in front of him. "It has nothing to do with me. This is you stealing my money. Give it back." Domingo cried even louder. I don't have anything to pay you back with this," he screamed. He threw himself into Robin's arms. Just as I was ready to explode, a neighbor stuck their head out and cursed. "If you want to fight, do it inside for the sake of face." Robin swiftly consented and pulled us into the flat. Once the door was closed, she hugged Domingo and soothed him for a long while. In the end, against my will, she compelled Domingo to stay in my room. I kept silent, sitting in the living room for a long time. When she came out, she sat next to me. "Why is your room so empty?" I arched an eyebrow, a little shocked she had finally noticed, and lied. "It's nothing, I just tidied up. Just now I wanted to borrow some of your clothes for Domingo, but I couldn't find any." I laughed bitterly. No wonder. Good goodness, I had already packed everything. I stood up, ready to gather blankets and sleep in the living room. She grabbed my hand. "Domingo's had it rough. Tomorrow I'll have him leave." "All right, we're all adults here, don't be so petty," I scoffed. "Then spend your own money to aid him." "What does it mean to use mine? If you really think he's had it rough, then help him pay me back." I reached out my palm toward her. Robin quickly flushed with fury. "You're truly unreasonable with that." She stormed back into the room. I was pleased to have some peace. I brought out a blanket and made a bed on the living room floor. Just thinking of seeing Robin ashamed tomorrow filled me with excitement. Chapter 9. At 5 in the morning, we were all up. Domingo, looking like he wanted to atone for something, agreed to take on the duties of best man, running about helping me get ready. But no matter the haircut or the makeup, nothing matched me at all. I stared at the magnificent suit he wore, even more elaborate than mine. His makeup more delicate than mine. Any outsider would think he was the groom. Mrs. Kim wanted things to be simple, so Robin and I were to exit from the flat together. Just as we went out, Robin's expression turned gloomy. She grabbed my hand and questioned, "Why did you secretly sign up for the graduate exam?" I was a little astonished, but forced myself to stay cool. "Did you get it incorrect?" Robin pulled out her phone and opened a message for me to check. "Isn't this you, Justin, on graduation day? You suddenly ran off to the internet cafe, wasn't it?" For this, her grip hurt my hand and I struggled. "So what if it was? Why do you think you can control where I go? You're not allowed to go. In your fantasies, seeing this." Domingo hastened to mediate. "Don't do this on such a big day, brother-in-law. Really, if you want to take the exam, then take it. Why keep it from Robin? And besides, didn't you promise after graduation that you take good care of her? Why are you doing this?" I flashed him a sideways glance, my voice chilly. "If you want to take care of her, then you do it." My roughness made Domingo shake. He stood in front of Robin. Tears collected in his eyes as he lifted his head, looking at Robin with expectation. But Robin didn't even glance at him. Her eyes stayed riveted on mine. "It's fine. When the time comes, we'll go together. As husband and wife, of course, we should be side by side." She instantly calmed down, turned, and took my hand. The instant we stepped out, her radiant smile reappeared. Domingo wanted to say something and tried to sit next to Robin, but she pushed him away. "Take the next car." Domingo blinked. "But didn't we agree?" Robin's tone went chilly. "Don't waste time." Domingo didn't dare disagree with her. After getting out of the car, he glanced at me angrily before reluctantly entering into the next one. I aggressively closed the back door and sat in the front passenger seat. Through the rearview mirror, I saw Robin's fist clenched tight. Whenever she felt worried and uneasy, she was always like this. I suddenly felt like laughing. "Robin, what is it that makes you so nervous?" Chapter 10. When we got at the venue, Robin held my hand as we entered. As we passed Mrs. Kim, I heard her voice filled with discontent. "This clothing is far too inappropriate. He knows today is the wedding and still turns up so thoughtless." Sitting near her, Domingo said hesitantly, "Annie, don't blame Robin. It's my fault for not preparing it well." Mrs. Kim quickly changed her tone. "How could it be your fault? It's him who's simply not fit." I couldn't help but roll my eyes. Robin quickly tightened her grip on my hand and spoke up. "You're the most handsome." When I looked up, I saw her turning her head to look at me. Her statements didn't sound false, but regrettably, I had long passed the time when I wished to hear them. Her voice was barely loud enough for Domingo to catch. He gave a chilly snort, his reluctant eyes searing into my back. At last, Robin and I stood together before the officiant. I felt a little nervous. The thought of spoiling everything right in front of Robin, who worried so much about appearances, made me feel pleased. The officiant went through the ceremony steps. When it was my turn, "Do you take her as your wife?" "I do not." As soon as the words left my mouth, the crowd erupted in horror. Robin's eyes widened in horror as if something had shattered inside them. "You misspoke, didn't you?" "Not at all." I smiled at her, then snatched the microphone from the officiant. "Today's groom is someone else." At that moment, the video I had prepared began to play. On the television were all kinds of private moments between Robin and Domingo. Everyone thought Robin treated me nicely, that she was unanimously acknowledged as the excellent wife candidate. I pulled the utterly dumbstruck Domingo onto the stage. "Look at him, his dress is more extravagant than mine, his makeup more sophisticated than mine. If he's not the groom, then who is?" The guests downstairs instantly began muttering, "My God, who couldn't see this coming? Unbelievable." Robin Kim still wrapped up with her first love. The video happened to show the moment the two of them kissed in a classroom. The confused sounds filled the hall. Mrs. Kim frightened and shouted, "Turn it off, swiftly turn it off," but no one listened. While everyone was still surprised, I slipped on running shoes and rushed out. By the time Robin came to her wits and tried to come after me, the security guards blocked her way. It was useless. The planner Mrs. Kim had chosen proved to be an old friend of my father's. Once they discovered it was me, they called me in advance. So everything today had been organized with their help. Mrs. Kim had no way of catching me. Once I left the reception hall, I immediately got into the automobile they had supplied and drove away. A new life. Here I come. Chapter 11. In my past existence, under Robin's control, I become sensible numb. Even when I earned significant engineering accolades in college, in her views, they were nothing special. She asked, "What's the use of studying engineering in the future? You'll still have to obediently stay home and take care of the kids for me." Unlike Domingo, who studied design, new aesthetics, worked fast and well, and could directly contribute to the home, so I felt inferior sensitive. I even tried to study design, but in the end it simply made me a laughingstock. Even the technological construction I was proficient at, I never picked it up again. Fortunately, heaven showed mercy and offered me a chance to start afresh. Living another life, I could see everything more clearly. My life should have been rich and colorful. I could earn a master's, a doctorate, delve deeper into the technological construction I was competent at, and ultimately contribute to my country. Holding my bundle of possessions, the more I pondered, the joyful I felt. This sense of independence and freedom was something I had never known in my former life. When we reached the station, I accepted the train ticket from my teacher's hand and boarded with her. Watching the beauty disappearing in the distance, I felt my heart entirely calm. The ride to South City was long, but fortunately we had acquired sleeper seats. After a lengthy day and night, we finally arrived at our destination. After a day of recovery, I asked my teacher and her professor out for a supper and got some small gifts for the professor. I was worried I would feel tight and uneasy, but possibly since I had lived one life previously, I confronted the professor with serenity, speaking clearly and freely. His eyes were full with adoration, which only made me more poised and self-assured. In the end, we exchanged contact information. After that, we commenced the intensive preparation phase for tests. On the day before school started in South City, I encountered Robin again. Chapter 12. I hadn't expected her to actually follow me all the way to my new rental house. Just as I was going to close the door, it was abruptly barred. Startled, I automatically braced myself, then looked up and saw her. "It's me." She appeared a lot thinner and tidy, travel-worn, absolutely disheveled. "I finally found you." Her eyes were heavy, her rims crimson. "Why did you go off here without listening to a single explanation you made me seek for so long?" A cold crept over me. Countless thoughts flew through my mind. I couldn't comprehend how she had discovered me. Perhaps because I appeared so guarded, she said, "You happened to go buy books at a bookstore. One of the part-time staff there is my friend who also came here for PhD study. Otherwise, I might have spent my whole life searching inch by inch and never found you." I let out a breath, still leaning against the door with no intention of letting her inside. "All right, can you quit being furious now? Let me in." Dragging her bag, she tried to shove her way in. I blocked her even more strongly. "No need. I think I made it clear at the wedding I don't want to marry you. And now I'll add one more. I don't even want to see you leave." But Robin refused to believe it. "You were merely jealous seeing me with Domingo. It was all a mistake." "Can't you let me explain?" I snarled. "There's no misunderstanding. One, he's had it rough and you take care of him inside and out. What's there to misunderstand?" I continued going. "I don't like gray suits, and I don't like the overpowering perfume on you." Her mouth opened, but no words came. Her face grew pallid. She presumably felt she had covered it well, always taking off her coat before entering, tossing it inside the room before going out again. But the aroma of perfume had already drenched her whole body. At last her hands trembled as she shook her head again and again. It's not like that I ignored her. While she was disoriented, I slammed the door shut. Just then a message from my teacher came inquiring how preparations were going. For tomorrow's enrollment, of course, I was well prepared. Then from my teacher's remarks, I learned these past months Domingo, Mrs. Kim, and Robin Kim had not lived quietly. Because Robin and Domingo's scandal had escalated, the entire city knew. Her lecturer decided to suspend her internship. Mrs. Kim, upon hearing, was so upset she was hospitalized. Domingo, wanting to prove himself better than me, agreed to take care of Mrs. Kim. But under Robin's care, he turned out to be utterly useless in daily life. He gave Mrs. Kim overcooked beans or missed medical instructions, and had her take all her meds in one day. What should have been a 2-week rehabilitation dragged on for 2 months. In the end, Mrs. Kim felt quite unsatisfied with Domingo and instead began to miss my reliability. Later, when they ran out of money, they turned their eyes toward the apartment's valuables. But to their amazement, after going through everything, they discovered nothing. When they asked the landlord, they learned that aside from the cooking pots and pans, everything else had originally belonged to her. When I heard this, I couldn't help but feel delighted. Just how it should be. Chapter 13. After completing my enrollment, I followed the lecturer to begin research in technological construction. In my prior life, I never got the chance to fully accomplish my objectives. In this existence, I wasn't willing to waste even a second. So other from eating and sleeping, I spent all my time in the research lab or out on projects. When I saw Robin again, I hadn't expected her to appear at the school infirmary. After several days of relentless work, my brain was spinning, and at the first sight of her, I immediately sought to flee away. Robin quickly threw down what she was holding and raced after me. "Don't go, okay? Actually, I've always known you were studying here. I just didn't dare disturb you. I kept thinking if you ever needed something, then I'd have the chance to show up." Her words sounded deep and affectionate. Disgusting. I tried to shake off her hand. I think an off-campus hospital would be more acceptable. But she firmly drew me back for a checkup, and when it seemed serious, she gently hurried me toward a hospital outside the school. I never anticipated that she would have a day where she cared about my physical health thus much. But it was far too late. I had no strength left, so I could only let her take me for tests. In the end, I even watched as she clenched her teeth and dug out a clutch of little dollars to pay the medical price. Without me, she had grown poorer and poorer. Before, she never once had to grit her teeth to pay for anything. Afterwards, she gently sat at my side to feed me medicine, watching the nurse put me on for drip. She took my hand and said earnestly that she just liked me, that it was only because she had been confused that she did those things with Domingo. She said she would never do it again, that she would only behave for me from now on. Even the nurse, overhearing, spoke up. "You should forgive your girlfriend. She's a decent-looking girl, and she seems like a good person too. Where else might you find someone like that? Yes, someone this horrible really is hard to find." I spoke weakly without feeling. The nurse froze, then left in silence. The smile on Robin's face flickered for only a moment before evaporating again. After a long time, she just whispered one word. "I'm sorry, really, I just need you to give me one more chance." She grabbed my hand again. I was absolutely fed up. I scowled and stared at her. "Please just get lost." Then I withdrew 100 yuan from my pocket and placed it into her hands. "This isn't just enough for the medical bill. It'll cover your expenses for a while. Isn't it money you're after? Since you took care of me, I'll spare you a little charity." Robin opened her mouth, but it took her a long while to produce words. Is that really how you perceive me? How else? I scoffed. How much longer are you going to pretend to be virtuous fraud? My comments made her cheeks flush red. She stood up and sat down again over and over. I ignored her, moving my head to the side. At last I heard her remark I would prove myself. Then she sat down, completely refusing to leave no matter what. I chose to close my eyes and recover. Chapter 14. As things were closing up, I sent a note to my students telling them I had taken leave to see a doctor. I hadn't thought that once they found out they would all hurry over to the hospital to visit me. The bunch swarmed in at once, shoving Robin aside into the next bed and started chatting around me, asking how I was doing. I smiled, shook my head, and told them I was all right. A longtime acquaintance brought me here. Only then did their eyes wander briefly toward Robin. In the end, not one of them smiled at her. They all turned their heads directly back to me. So this is the insane ex-girlfriend you mentioned, T.S. Kask. She really does seem every bit the manipulating woman. She won't meet a good end in this life. Robin, agitated, sought to argue back. But each time she talked, my classmates shut her down sentence by sentence. Watching everyone around me stand by my side, speaking up for me, I was sincerely affected. In my prior life, I had been cautious and diligent all my life, yet isolated all my life. Even the way I died had been disgusting. Wasn't the bullying of my former life still bullying? Robin observed that I gave no response. At first she was embarrassed, seeking to explain, but in the end she deflated totally. Chapter 15. Robin insisted on continuing on as the school doctor. As nasty as she was, for someone of her medical talent to be here as just a school doctor was certainly a waste. Her professor had come looking for her numerous times, but she denied him each time. She stated she wanted to stay here and atone. I was extremely disgusted. After returning from the hospital, Mother would leave fruit and refreshments outside my dorm room every day. All were things suitable for me to eat at the time. I never accepted any of it. All of it I gave to the dormitory Annie, and so we remained at a deadlock for a month. Then Domingo emerged. He showed up hobbling near our school, roaming around, asking anybody he saw where Robin was. Lately, Robin herself had been holding her tummy, unable to face me in the eye. I noted the small expansion of her belly, surely already 3 months along. Counting the days, it matched exactly the time when Mrs. Kim had been hospitalized. I was completely revolted. Upon realizing this, I promptly and anonymously told Domingo. After he learned, he hurried immediately to the campus gates. The two of them argued and tugged at each other outside school. I happened to be waiting for my takeaway nearby, observing as Domingo wept and shouted, "I don't care, you're carrying my child. My leg was destroyed from looking for you. You must take responsibility for me." Robin saw my attention and turned toward me, as if appealing for aid. But it had nothing to do with me. When my food arrived, I grabbed it up and went without a backward glance. Later, I encountered a new school doctor in the infirmary. It came out Domingo, at his wits' end, had gone to our principal and begged him to remove Robin so she could take care of him instead. The problem gave the principal a headache, but since the school doctor's job was never considered particularly essential, he waved his hand and consented. Later, I heard that Robin had been forced to marry Domingo after returning home. Even when her professor came knocking, Domingo sent him away every time. He was scared the woman he had finally ensnared would flee away. In the end, with little alternative, Robin gave birth and could only find work near home. She lived her whole life in mediocrity. Meanwhile, after graduation, I did not hesitate to devote myself to the creation of my country. When I finally went home at the age of 30, I was laden with awards. On the street corner, I chanced to observe a woman sweeping. She appeared young, yet her back was hunched, her whole appearance worn and elderly. I hadn't expected that would be my final sight of Robin. Some minutes later, a fire broke out in a dilapidated residential block. I only learned in casual conversation with colleagues that the people involved were Domingo and Robin. The two, after years of disharmony, perished together. I could only sigh with a hint of pity. The world is uncertain indeed.